program director, and Ellie Pastino, who may or may not be related to me. And she is our media producer, and she's in Chicago. Sean and I are in Pittsburgh. And we just want to thank you guys for joining us this morning to share the story of LZ Sitting Duck. We're going to go live on Facebook and YouTube very shortly, right, Ellie?
We're live. So hello, Facebook.
We are live. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube.
Hello.
And then we are going to go live on Zoom, and we'll let everybody in. And we'll start the program with a few announcements. I think we're going to try and get in 2 announcements before we really dive into your story. Because we have Memorial Day coming up, and so there are Memorial Day events. And then we will jump into the story of FSB Argonne. And I'm just so pleased that this book is doing so well. It's finding an audience. I love it.
Thank you. We've also got Rick Everington. We got Rick Everington. We've got John Arsenault should be joining the call.
Got it.
We have others as well. We got a John Barrymore, who we are he'll be joining the book the call as well. So
okay,
we've got a good sized crowd of us here.
Very good.
Do you have the music ready to go? Because
I have the music cued and ready to go. Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. And I'm sharing my music, right? Yep.
Yes.
Happy Wednesday morning to all of you. It is May 19th, and I'm Todd Pastino, and this is the Veterans Breakfast Club, and I am back in Pittsburgh after almost a week in Chicago on the road. It's good to be back home, but I do miss my daughter, Ellie. Ellie, how are you? Ellie's our media producer.
Doing well.
And we have Sean Hall with us, of course, our program director. Hello, Sean.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
And today we are talking about several things, but the biggest story that we're going to really dive into is the story of Fire Support Base Argonne, where a brutal battle occurred with the 1st Battalion, 4th Marines on March 20th, 1969. This is in the extreme northwest corner of South Vietnam, just 10 kilometers northwest of Khe Sanh. And we have two veterans really of that battle, Jim Berg, who's a helicopter pilot, and John Arsenault, who, with Thomas Gourneau, wrote the first book about FSB Argonne. And I'm going to share my screen here so that you could see the book title. Oh, actually, here, I'm going to share it here. You'll get to see a young Jim Berg, helicopter pilot. And but we're going to go back here. There we go. This is the story. This is the book, LZ Sitting Duck. And I'm amazed at how it's newly released. Thomas Gourneau was the one who wrote it with John Arsenault, and I'm just amazed at how this book has really caught on. It definitely has found its audience. It's an event. This is a battle that I think Marines who were on the ground in 1969 and I Corps knew about, but people like me did not know about. And I guess you could say one of the hooks that might be driving the sale of this book is that it is the inspiration for Carl Melantes, the great Vietnam Marine novelist, Carl Melantes' book Matterhorn. LZ Sitting Duck, or FSB Argonne, was the inspiration for his novel, his famous novel Matterhorn. And Carl Melantes also wrote this wonderful blurb for the book. LZ Sitting Duck shows battle from the bottom up. In personal statements, it captures the chaos, bravery, confusion, fear, and fighting spirit of Marines of the 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, who fought a fierce hill battle with regular North Vietnamese Army forces in March of 1969. Readers will learn about combat down to the dirt at the very tip of the spear point. I think that testimonial gives you an idea of what a great writer Carl Melantes is. Even when he's writing a testimonial, he's eloquent. So we're going to dive into the story of FSB Argonne, which, by the way, was part of a larger, Thomas, I think, and John will maybe let us know, but it was part of a larger Operation Purple Martin, which was intended to stop the infiltration of 3 NVA regiments across the DMZ into South Vietnam. And this would have been in March and April 1969. So we're going to dive into the story. I wanted to, let's see, is Ken Kazak? Yeah, hey, Ken. Ken Kazak is with us, and I wanted to make a few announcements because Memorial Day is upon us. So we have some Memorial Day events coming up. And Ken, you have a bike ride, your Memorial Day bike ride coming up, correct?
Hey, thanks, Todd. Good morning to everybody. Yes, I was involved with Pittsburgh Hires Veterans last year to do the Veterans Day bike ride, and continuing with the ride on Memorial Day. Where we're going to go is to one of the best monuments in the area, and it's just not in a high traffic area. This was going to be the course for Veterans Day. It's in Braddock Hills. And the memorial there is for all veterans from the area, but one in particular, Leonard Funk, who was a Medal of Honor winner for his activities in the eastern part of Belgium in January of 1945. And by the way, I know Memorial Day is to honor those left behind, but and Leonard Funk did survive the war, but it's such a great bike ride and such a great monument. So.
Yes, and such a great Pittsburgh tradition. So that'll be on Monday, May 31st. The meeting place is OTB. What does that mean? On the
over the bar. It's a bicycle bar on Carson Street.
Okay.
Anybody that's on a bike, Todd, knows the bike bar.
Okay, so I've outed myself as a non-biker. OTB on Carson Street at 9:30 a.m. and then Costco parking lot at 10 a.m. You could RSVP to Ken, valuekazak@yahoo.com. Does that pretty much sum it up there, Ken?
Yeah, but I just want to say there are hills. Okay, so if you're not a hill climber, by the way, this is the first ride. I do rides all the time. This is the first one that we're going to let electric bikes participate, but you have to be over 65 years of age.
Oh, come on, Ken. That is age discrimination.
I know.
I was with you. I was like, I will dare electric bike. I'm with you, but now I have to wait 10 years.
Well, or you could train and do the hills. How's that?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I just want to share that the photo on the left, that is from the actual monument in Braddock Hills, and the photo on the right is a stock photo. So that's not in the Pittsburgh area. And I also want to let people know that Ken has a new book out, and I read just a little bit of it called How to Be Old, which I love that title, How to Be Old. And not that Ken knows, but he's getting there. And we're going to have Ken on to talk a little bit more about that later. But this is newly published, right?
Yes. And by the way, I'm really impressed with the previous book that showed up. But that's an amazing job. And to those two gentlemen that wrote that book, I mean, they know what the process is, you know, and it's just look, the whole point about writing, you got to train your brain to think like a writer. Then you could do these things. That's it.
It's one thing to have a story. It's another thing to tell it. And especially tell it in the written word. It's a craft, and it takes a lot of practice, just like bike riding, right?
Great analogy, Todd. Great analogy.
Very good. And we're waiting on Brendan Foster from the National Veterans Art Museum in Chicago. He's going to come on and let us know what's going on at the Art Museum for their special Memorial Day exhibit. And I have to say, we're going to have the NVAM, the National Veterans Art Museum. We're going to have a special program on Memorial Day at 7 p.m. with the National Veterans Art Museum, sharing some of the art and some of their special Memorial Day exhibit. But I'm looking around and I see some new faces here, and I want to welcome them. And I imagine that some of those new faces are connected here with the book. Richard Everington, how are you? I'm going to ask you to unmute. We can't hear you, Richard. If you could unmute. Okay, there we go. So, Richard, were you part of this book project, LZ Sitting Duck?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Are you a veteran?
Yes.
Were you in Vietnam?
I was in the battalion, and I had gotten wounded on the 9th of March, and I got medevaced out about a week before they assaulted the fire base, and so I missed that main battle. But I was there prior around the area, then I was there like maybe about a week after the battle, still in the area patrolling after I got back. So it was kind of like fortuitous that I accidentally, got wounded and got medevaced out. But it was like one of those things when we heard the battle was going on, where everybody was thinking, what battle? Why? Really? Are they going back to that same place? The one that's zeroed in? The one that's a sitting duck? It's like a target practice place for the NBA. So I don't know whose idea it was to go there, but it was like a really bad idea. But then again, it's called Smash Mouth Marine Corps. I mean, when you're in a rifle company and you're there to kill the NBA, that's what you do. That's what the deal is. It's like, we don't want to go there like, quiet. We don't want to go there like smelling pretty. We don't want to go there with permission. We just go there and then we just, play the game as hard as we can. None of us want to do it. We don't volunteer to do it, but that's what they tell you to do, and that's what you do. That's the Marine Corps. Now, did it make a lot of sense in hindsight? No, it didn't. Would I do it again? Probably not. But I had a little piece where I wrote something about the guys that I knew very well that died, and that's what my chapter is about. Remembering those guys, which I remember every single day of my life.
Yeah. Because
they saved my life, so I always remember them.
Richard, we have Memorial Day coming up, and I'm not a veteran. I don't come from a military family. And I always say around this time of year that for most of my life growing up, Memorial Day was a 3-day weekend. And it really took years of working with veterans to understand what an important holiday it is. And also to understand just something that you said, that for many veterans, Memorial Day is every day. For the rest of us, one day a year. That's all that's asked. One day a year. John Barrymore, you're also a new face. How are you? You're connected also with the book? I'm going to ask you to unmute John.
Which John?
John Barrymore.
Unmuted. Yes, I'm going to hopefully read the audiobook, perform the audiobook. We're going to record it in the very near future. And
How wonderful.
So I've read a few chapters of the book so far, and I'm a friend of Mr. Everington's there.
Oh, okay. Got it. Are you a veteran?
No, I'm not. And I also don't come from a military family.
Good. So that's our mission. The mission of the Veterans Breakfast Club is to get veterans together to share their stories with each other, but also with people like me and like you who aren't veterans and who can really learn a lot from hearing these stories. I need to get right to Thomas and John Arsenault, who are also the authors of this book. And John, fascinating story of his Marine Corps career. I read a little bit about it on LinkedIn. I think that's a wonderful little bio that you've put on LinkedIn there, John, about your 30-year Marine Corps career, rising from private to lieutenant colonel. And then Thomas Gourneau, who's also a veteran, but not a Marine. Dale Gower, you'll be happy to hear that Thomas is a Coast Guard veteran. How are you doing? I'm going to ask you to unmute. Thomas, how did you fall into this story about Fire Support Base Argonne?
Well, Todd, the idea started back, I guess you could say, when I was basically 11, 12 years old. We had a close family friend of my mother's, and through my father, and my father knew as well, that you always hear these stories about this, about the gentleman in the book named David Obist, who was a only child. And what it was is how he was always at my mom's house growing up as a kid. My mom has kindergarten pictures of them together. They went to the same school. But David was a very unique individual. He was a tall, husky kid who was very quiet. You could never get him to swear. He was like just athletic. There's still like high school sport records that are still in his name to this day, that are still in his, held, that have never been broken. Well, when I was younger, we went to the Vietnam Wall, and we got the name off the wall. And of course, that kind of like intrigued me to be like, because you hear these stories about him from my parents and others as well, about just some of the stuff that he did. And you would think like, there's no way that a young man could do this. He had a pet bear as a kid. He had horses, and he had a pet bear in his house, and he had deer. And you wouldn't believe it, because everyone thought he was like a modern day Davy Crockett, in which Larry Deason, who served with them, they all referred to him as, because they never believed that he was like this. So it intrigued me to like basically find out more about him. And then what I did was I figured, well, once I found out like people that served with him, I figured, well, I'm not going to stop there. So I figured I'll stop. Well, where was he at? What battles was he in? Then I figured, well, I'll just pursue this route on going on like the location where he was killed at. So it just kind of, and with the internet taking off, it helped me reach out to others. And when you say, well, contact this person, I'll contact this person, because they were there. So it mushroomed out is what it did. And it's been a lot of fun doing it, I'll say. It was very challenging, but it was so neat to hear the stories. I really wouldn't call them stories. I would just call them the accounts that, these individuals have of this, not only just Argonne, but whatever battle that they participated in prior to this, and just everything that went on, is how I got the idea for the book. Well, when I was doing my research, a gentleman who also contributed data by the name of Mark Applemap knew of Mr. John Arsenault there. So I reached out to John, and what's funny is when I first reached out to John, he was a little hard to get, because I'd reach out to him and he'd call, or I'd call him, and at first he was thinking like, what the heck would I want to talk to someone about this? So, which was a great thing, because John was very instrumental on this project, because once he started hearing like what I was doing, he got drawn into it and says, I have to help out and do this. And, John being there is how it really, I guess you could say, just skyrocketed just the interest on like how both of us collaborated on this. And we would reach out to people that a lot of these guys knew of or knew, but haven't seen each other in over 50 years. So it's really brought a bonding together, because some of the guys that also contribute data, John, they all get together and joke around with each other. So it was a very unique project that, John and I can attest that 20 hours a day, if not, we were just, you get in a mindset and you basically train yourself to write this, because it is a very long process. I will say you got to be dedicated, but to write a book on this was one of the best things I ever did.
And you call it contributing data. I call it, I guess, collecting the stories of the veterans. Was it 20 veterans of this battle that contributed their stories?
Yeah, what it was is I even had Sue Jones, which was the lieutenant colonel's daughter, who was killed at Argonne. What I wanted to do was get everyone's perspective on that certain time frame when the battle raged on. Yeah. And I wanted them to tell me everything that they experienced from the time they were told they were going to Argonne, to the time they landed, to everything in between, to the time they left. And I told them, just keep it real, because I'll edit it, we'll critique it. Right. And I didn't want to kind of do like an after action report or like a flowing novel. I just wanted these guys to tell their story that they've had bottled up for so many years. Right. And so that's what I did. And every single, Rick, he wasn't at Argonne, but he has a connection to Argonne because some of the guys that saved his life were killed there. And that's how Rick's connection is. And of course, Jim Berg, he flew into it. He was one of the very first helicopters into it. And he's got a chilling account is how his was. And of course, you got John's, how, John was there and he was getting shot at. In fact, he got his boot sole shot off that he had to wear for 30 days. So, and I wanted people to understand like how, just going through combat, I mean, you're in this, being a Coast Guard, as I call it, I was saying, teasing you, I'm the bathtub Navy. So I wanted people to understand just the fact how these guys were out in the field for days, weeks, months at a time. Your clothes rot off you, your boots fall off you. To just tell people like what these guys went through was critical and what I want to do is get this Argonne battle out in the forefront, because it was a little known battle that needs to be put out in the forefront, because it was a severe battle. And when, in your opening comments, you said it's up in the northwest corner, south, of the old South Vietnam. Now, I've been to Vietnam numerous times, and I've been to Argonne, and you're right. When you're up there, it's a very desolate place.
Yeah. And I want to get to John and then back to Rick and Jim Berg. But before we do, I see that Brendan Foster has joined us, and I want to make sure we have Brendan talk about what's going on at the National Veterans Art Museum for Memorial Day. I know that we have a program planned. Brendan, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, and thanks for having me jump in real quick on your wonderful podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, talk about wonderful. The National Veterans Art Museum is something that I think every veteran and probably every American really should be aware of. It's been around for a long time. It's gone through many iterations. I think it started out as a Vietnam Veterans Art Group and has, had iterations from there. It's now the National Veterans Art Museum based in Chicago. You have a dedicated exhibit space for the art there. But what I find really neat and exciting here being in Pittsburgh is that so much of your collection is available online. Really great about curating kind of an online collection that people can interact with. And I want to, people should know that it's a simple URL, nvam.org, nvam.org, and you can check out the collection. You started like digitizing the artwork even before COVID-19, correct?
Oh yeah, our collection has been online for, at least 15 years. And we're always improving, we're always adding to it. And COVID-19 obviously has required us to become even much more digitized. So not only is our images of items from our collection online, but also we have online digital content from tour perspectives, visitation perspectives, which is what we're going to be doing with the Breakfast Club on Memorial Day.
And before we get to that, I do want to ask you about this installation. This is probably one of the most striking pieces you have at the museum. Could you tell us about it?
Absolutely. So this is Above and Beyond, and it's a signature piece from the National Veterans Art Museum collection. It's currently installed at the Harold Washington Library in downtown Chicago. It's the central library there. And it's comprised of 58,307 dog tags. And I'm sure many of you know that's the number of people who died, who have names on the wall in Washington, D.C. Each dog tag is individually stamped with the name, the date of death, and service branch of everyone who died in Vietnam. It's hung in order of date of death. So looking from where we're looking at this image, the one on the right-hand side, the nearest dog tag is the first person who passed away. And then it typewriters all the way down to the end. And at the end, there is a black dog tag that doesn't have anything stamped on it that kind of hangs away and on its own. And that's representative of all the lives lost as a result of Vietnam, but perhaps the DoD hasn't confirmed its right to be on the wall in DC. So we add to it when we're able to. Obviously, it's hanging in a space that's difficult, but every opportunity we add names who've been added to the wall, because they do add names every year, right around this time actually. So at current we have 58,307 names up there.
Wow, it's like a living memorial and art installation. That's so neat.
It's the only memorial outside of the wall in DC that has every name from Vietnam represented in one place.
What do you have? Oh, I'm sorry.
You can look the name, look someone's name up, and it'll show where their dog tag is. And if we have about 85% images of about 85%, and their image will pop up, and demographic information, where they're from, date of service rank, date of birth, date of death, place of birth, place of death. It's quite a powerful place to visit.
And I'm going to, so is your online storefront here, nvam.org. This is your website. And I want to encourage people to go there, simply to go to, and in fact, we did an article on it in our VBC magazine that just came out and hit most of your addresses. I think hit most of your mailboxes last week. If you go to the virtual museum, you could go through the online collection, which is so interesting. It's so varied, and the featured artwork is changing all the time. I mean, you can get lost here for weeks just exploring the artwork. Some of it's very disturbing. Some of it is kind of, more folk art. It's just some of it is photographs. Really, really fascinating. And, there's a story behind each one of them. And I know I've spent a lot of time going through. Here's a great shower scene from, I bet, Vietnam. It's just a great place to check out. Do you have a special program coming up for Memorial Day, Brendan?
We do. It's called We Remember, and hopefully this will be one of the last virtual things that we have to do with some of the restrictions lifting. But we have. There's a book called We Remember, Stories from Chicago Veterans. And in the past, we've had in the museum sort of an open mic event where people read from this book of their experience in the military. However, we've had to switch it to virtual. So what we've done is we actually have last year's We Remember up there right now, and that will be refreshed in the coming weeks. Where people will have footage of people sharing their story. But we also have opportunities for anyone to come and put a tribute up, either just a name or a full-on tribute. So you can read some of the tributes or thoughts that people have. The reason and the purpose for our Veterans Day, our Memorial Day programming is to keep Memorial Day what it is. It's a day for remembrance, for thought, and hopefully a cathartic event and experience. So this is an opportunity for our supporters and for anyone to come and remember a lost loved one. We always say it's not about the mattress sales or anything for us. It's about remembering. It's about thought. So
I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. We're proud and honored to do it. I think what Todd said was so important about the art in our museum, that it is so diverse. Its breadth and scope is really amazing. A lot of people think it's combat art and combat scenes and things, and it really isn't. It's so, the scope is so broad, and can, you can go through any day and find something that'll mean something to you, something different perhaps than it does to someone else. We have 2,500 pieces in our collection. We represent over 270 artists, and we're going to bring it to you on Memorial Day.
Yes, it's 7
special.
Right.
Special event here. I believe it starts at 7 o'clock Eastern.
Yes, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're doing an event with the National Veterans Art Museum, a Memorial Day event where I think we're going do kind of what you do in yours during the day, the program, trying to get veterans to and others to share who they remember, they think about on Memorial Day, and also maybe have some artists and talk about the art in your collection.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have sort of an open mic too, but we're gonna do it with the background of the artwork in the museum, whether it's some of the high-res virtual digital pictures we have, some of the tours we've done. We're gonna bring the museum to you, and hopefully it'll be a good opportunity for everyone to reflect and remember, and be a part of Memorial Day and what it's meant to be.
I love it. Beth Ruschel, who's on the Zoom call here, said she's from Chicago. I know that. And she's going to go visit it next time she's in Chicago. You should be open by then. She should be opening up, huh?
Yeah. I think over the next couple of weeks, we'll gradually open more and more and more. So, but if any of you are in Chicago, email me. I have the keys. I can let you know.
You could let us in. And once again, we did a nice article. Sean Hall wrote a nice article on the National Veterans Art Museum because he was so taken, like I was, with the art in just encouraging people, even if you're not in Chicago, to visit it online, nvam.org. And this is my opportunity also to plug the magazine. This is a free magazine that we send out to anybody who wants it. It's we flatter ourselves calling it a magazine. It's a thin little 28-page thing, but we have our cover girl, Julia Parsons, Navy Wave, who is with us here right now on the Zoom call, 100-year-old code breaker from World War II. We have her story, and we have several other stories in here. Please do, if you haven't gotten this in the mail, just give us your address. We'll put it in the mail. It's a good read. We'd love to send it out to you. Thank you so much, Brendan, for joining us this morning, and we'll see you again Memorial Day, huh?
That sounds great. Thanks for your time.
All right. Take care. John Arsenault, I want to go right to you because you are the co-author of the book LZ, Sitting Duck, and you were also there.
Yes. Yeah, I was there from beginning to end. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this was, you had a long Marine Corps career, and this is the very beginning of it, right? I mean, not the very beginning, but close to the beginning of it. Was it something that you talked about much later in your life, or did it really take this book for you to really kind of bring it all back?
Yeah, good question. This book was actually the first time I ever sat down and went through this particular story from beginning to end, ever in 50 years. I would tell little tiny, portions of it, real small portions, but never the whole story, because it just wouldn't come out. And so when Tom and I got together, and he called me, and I'm going, who in the heck is this idiot? Calling all the time, going, I want you to tell a story. And I'm going, I've never told a story.
Hey, Thomas, I just want to interrupt you. Thomas, I've heard that. People say that about me all the time. Who the hell is this idiot asking these stupid questions? Okay, go ahead, John.
And so after about 3 months of just, consistently after me, I finally was like, okay, I'll do it just to get it done, and
get this guy off my back.
Yeah. And what happened was for me when I sat down and started it, this story just came out, and in 2 sittings, I had 9,000 words, and it just all came out. But it was, for me, it was kind of cathartic because I was able to let it go, and tell the story and get it out. And I'm glad that everybody has written their part of this story to tell this to everyone, so that the nation knows the sacrifices made by Americans on this mountain. And this story is similar to, or like, probably 2,000 or 3,000 stories that are exactly like this,
right?
That have never been told,
right?
About Marines and soldiers and sailors and airmen that fought in Vietnam. And everybody knows about the big fights, but no one knows about these fights.
Right.
And
Right.
these were absolutely as vicious as anything. And the heroism that I witnessed there on that mountain has basically inspired me my whole life to do better, to be more, to be worthy of the fact that I survived.
Could you tell us a little bit about that morning, March 20th, 1969? I think the first helicopter landed or attempted to land at 10 a.m.
Well, the recon team landed. Best I can figure out is about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And they came under immediate fire, and basically the Huey, the skids landed on the ground and never came off. They took so much fire, it killed the pilot, wounded the co-pilot, disabled the aircraft. All the recon Marines rolled out of the Huey, set up a perimeter. Every one of them was wounded, and they fought off the NVA until we came in at basically just after daylight. Probably 8, 9 o'clock, somewhere around in there. But for us, we were at Alpine, just outside the wire, and early in the dark, there was activity in our position at Delta Company. Something was going on, and so everybody started. My squad leader, Ralph De Sevilla, was called up to the platoon CP, and so he came back and said, "Okay, we're going in on a hill," and none of us knew where it was or where we were going. We just knew that there was a recon team that was trapped, and we were going to go in and try and secure the ground for them, get them out.
How big was that recon team?
I think it's 5.
Five are, and they're all wounded, and they're holding off NVA regiment. Oh my gosh.
And so daylight comes, and then we all get into our sticks to get on the CH-46s. 10 men to a bird. And I think I was on the second bird that landed, maybe the third, but I think it was on the second bird that got on the ground. I think we might have been the third bird in line, but I think the one in front of us got shot down, the one that Bill Black was on. I don't know the order, but when I came off the back of the 46 on Argonne, there was not a Marine to be seen anywhere. So, I mean, we were one of the first birds on there because everybody was undercover. And so anyway, there's no direction. It's like the Marine runs off the back of a helicopter. There's no one telling you where the bad guys are. Bullets are landing everywhere. You can see that just chewing up the ground. So, I look to my left, and there's the top of the hill, and I just go, well, this is where we're going. I mean, we're going to the top of the hill. That's going to be the mission. So I turned and started running up the hill. And, this is kind of where the fog of war kind of jumps in, like I say in my chapter, like a hippopotamus into a wading pool. I found our lieutenant with our radio man. And so he's telling me that the NVA are all on top of the hill shooting down at us. And I'm trying to figure out where the rest of the Marines are. And so all I hear is up there. And so I'm figuring that's where he wants me to go. So I start running up the hill.
Oh.
And unbeknownst to me, the rest of the squad had came off the helicopter and gone straight and sat down. They followed the squad leader. I just got, I guess, not disoriented. I just came off the bird, saw the top of the hill, and figured that's where we needed to go, and took off. So I'm by myself, and ran up there and charged up the hill with 70 pounds of junk on my back. And I got within about 15 feet of the NVA bunker when I saw this NVA soldier standing there looking at me like, who is this crazy idiot? And he's sitting there with an AK-47 at the waist, just spraying the area. And so anyway, at that point, I'm going, okay, I can't jump over the ledge to get to the last steep pitch to get over the bunker. And so I'm going, okay, I got to find a place to get down. And anyway, in the process of all this, they shot my hat. I had a soft cover. I didn't wear a helmet in those days. Yeah, shot my cover off, shot my rucksack off, shot my ammo off the front of me, and then I hit the ground. They shot the back of my boot off. And there I was.
That's the closest of close calls.
Yeah. So there I was, looking at this bunker. So, and then they figured they got me. So they were shooting over my head down at everybody else. But I was sitting there looking at them, and the bunker was sitting on the ridge line, and the sun was coming up behind him. So I had this perfect silhouette, this NVA soldier standing there shooting at everybody. So, I just laid there and I had my M16 in my right hand laying flat on the ground. I just kind of raised the barrel and kind of figured out what the elevation should be and started shooting. So
started shooting back. I'm sharing my screen here because I want to give people a sense of where this occurred in the extreme northwest corner of I Corps, which was the one of the 4 tactical zones of Vietnam. The one that was where really you had really large scale battles between the North Vietnamese Army and the Marine Corps largely. Is this about it, Thomas? Is this about the location, or John? Right here?
A little bit. Argonne, you could move your cursor right to the border with Laos.
Yeah, and Todd, in the book, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, it's right, just go south. It's just almost directly on the border because
Oh, wow, that close. Okay.
We were
yeah, in the book, Todd, there's some pictures that show John and I have never seen 4 pictures that we had of the battle of looking east to west and vice versa. Well, when the picture that was taken from the upper, what they call the upper LZ to the lower, which is the Laos side, you see Laos right there. And it's, like I said, I've been there multiple times in Vietnam in the last couple of years. And you are right on the Laotian border right there. You see it. You can walk into it. Basically, that's how close these guys were. And like John was saying, how what my original plan, what I wanted to do was my last trip I went there is I figured, well, good old technology with Google Earth shows like, hey, this don't look like it's that bad on the hill to climb up, because they were doing some logging or some clearing up there. I figured, well, heck, I can maybe hike it. Well, of course, when you get there, it's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Because, the hill was called 1308, which is in meters. And it is a very, very steep hill. And these guys were climbing that daily, with their packs on. So you really put a perspective on when you're there to see, like, and back then, of course, it was, because of the Agent Orange and the bombs and everything that, pretty much made it look like the moon. But it's a heck of a hill that's on top of that position. It is a big hill, like John was saying. And
this unusual topography in this part of Vietnam. We've done 2 trips, the Veterans Breakfast Club, with veterans to Vietnam. And here, for people to get a sense of it, here's where Khe Sanh combat base is. The little village of Khe Sanh is right next to it. I think Vandergrift combat base was
south a little bit.
Okay, south here.
Right about there, right around there.
Halfway between Dong Ha and Khe Sanh. You guys probably started out from Vandergrift, Highway 9, and then went to this extreme area.
Well, there was no roads back then, Tom.
No roads.
Yeah,
no,
and
where Argonne was, the closest road was Khe Sanh, and actually it's over 30 kilometers southeast of where Argonne is. And so it's just open wilderness between the two of them. And I'm thankful that this all took place for me after I'd been in country for about 8, 9, 10 months, where I had time to kind of adapt to being in the mountains of I Corps, and especially our unit. We, before we got onto Argonne, all of us had been out in the field there for over a month, and then we stayed in the field for over a month after we landed in Argonne. So basically, we were one mission. We were in the jungle for over 2 months.
And so, yeah, I wanted to ask that. How long did this battle occur for you? I mean, how long were you out there around Argonne?
For us, it was about a month.
Oh my
gosh. We spent a week or two on the hill, and then we spent a week or two patrolling north up to the DMZ. And along the way, we set up patrol bases and, did search and destroy stuff. But, it was about a month. And, like I was telling you, the first day I had the back part of my boot shot off and didn't get that replaced until we flew out a month later. So, I mean, it was, you just, everybody was just kind of adapting and moving forward with what we had,
Jeez, adapt and overcome. I mean, Jeff Witherell. Yeah, you want to say something? Why don't you unmute, Jeff?
I was going to just ask, what was the mission of the regiment as well as your battalion in that region? Was it more of a blocking position, or were you actually involved in trying to destroy these 3 regiments?
We were sent in. Purple Martin was basically a battalion mission for 1st Battalion, 4th Marines to go into that box and deny access of 3 NVA regiments from coming into Vietnam through that area, and then destroy whatever supplies and they had in place, engaged any troops that we came across. Basically, take them out if we can, deny them access to come into that part of Vietnam as a big access point into Vietnam to reattack Khe Sanh, Dong Ha, and Quang Tri.
Yeah, it was a kill and destroy mission. Find the enemy and kill them, from what I could remember.
Yeah, and I would say, Todd, your cursor, when it's at that crux between the DMZ and Laos, that's less than 30 seconds of flying time into the DMZ from where Argonne is, and 30 seconds or so into Laos.
Yeah.
And what was below you at second number 31, 32, 33 was the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So the NVA were not going to allow Marines to have and keep Argonne, because it would overlook the Ho Chi Minh Trail and really cut their supply source, not only into I Corps, but all the way to the south. And we're talking about what we know now, a 2-lane highway with big trucks, and lots of people they would bomb it at night, they'd repair it overnight and be running the trucks the next morning.
Right.
It was vital place.
And Todd, what I wanted to mention was that this battle, it was a brawl, and Argonne was one of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, John can vouch for this too, that there were 3 Navy crosses issued on one single day on this battle. And in the book, we had one of them, Herb Pierpan, who described about the book as well, because he was one of the higher ranking officers that were there. And like, what Jim was saying too is how when he took off on the with his helicopter, he barely had enough power. He was hoping and praying just to get out of there, because back in the day, the old 46s were so underpowered, and he was overloaded. And when he took off, he went to it was to the north and came down, and that whole area, which now is a road that goes through there, which, like Jim said, is the old Ho Chi Minh Trail. So he saw firsthand, just where they were at. And, me going there 50 years later, I put a perspective on it too, because I was basically standing in the area where Jim probably flew over, and it kind of brought that to reality.
Jim, can I ask you, what was your role here in fire support base in this battle?
Well, Marines didn't get anywhere in I Corps without the CH-46 helicopter. There were no one trucked anybody anywhere. You had to go there by helicopter. And when John says we went up the hill, that was not a hill. That was a 4,300 foot mountain. And to land 10 Marines loaded with gear, 2 gunners on our helicopter loaded with 50 caliber machine gun at 4,300 feet with less dense air in the heat. It was critical. I mean, it was dangerous as can be, because if you land short, you're in the side of the mountain and dead. You got to hit the zone when you come down. And all of our missions were there to supply these Marines or take wounded out or take dead out, but to bring them everything that they needed, ammunition, even we would bring the priest on Sunday with ice cream to into the more protected areas so they could have some ice cream and have a religious service on Sundays. So, I mean, we did the whole thing. Nothing got moved in Vietnam without helicopters. And most of that stuff was all carried externally underneath the helicopter in nets. We would come over the zone and drop it into the zone. The only difficulty with Argonne is that I was there the day after John landed. I was there in the morning of the 21st. And I guess the colonel was killed the morning of the 21st. Is that right, John?
That's correct. It's correct.
Yeah.
About 8 o'clock in the morning.
We were there at 10 or 11 in response to a lot of medevac emergency. It was an emergency medevac mission. And the colonel, as someone alluded to earlier, this zone had been zeroed in, I think Rick said, had been zeroed in many months before March. I think the Marines were on Argonne in November or so, and then decided out of someone's idea, let's go back there again. So the NVA from, let's say, November to March, they knew every azimuth out of wherever they were firing Laos or whatnot to send mortars or artillery, and they could spot it. They could hit it easily. Okay, they weren't estimating anymore. This was a mathematical deal. Did you guys agree with that?
No, I'll jump in real quick, Jim. You're absolutely correct. The on the ground, basically every infantry position on the hill took direct hits with 82 millimeter mortars. Ours did, and they just walked them around the perimeter. I mean, they like you said, they had the whole place dialed in, and when you on one mortar attack, we had I think 2 direct hits and 3 near misses on our bunker, which is 2 on top and 3 that were within a foot or 2 of landing on it. They basically just would could hit anything they wanted on the hill. So it when somebody yelled incoming, I mean, everybody you started praying, because just because you're in a bunker didn't mean that you're going to be safe.
And Todd, I wanted to mention too that Carl Melanthus's squad and unit built this base in '68, in which Rick happened to be there at that same time as well. And prior to John's 1969 mission, they fired thousands of rounds at this hill, and unfortunately, vast majority of them missed. So the NVA were still in the old holes and the grounds that they had. They were basically crawl spaces. What they were is like how I was described them, is what I was told. But all that artillery missed to prep these guys to get in. So they were still occupying the ground that Rick and Carl Melanthus set up in end of '68. And like also too, when like everyone was saying how they could zero in, Jim even said too, like when he was taken off to get out of there, he was watching them the lambs round, and it was like, I want to say, was it 3 of them, Jim? You didn't wait to see the 3rd one because he got out of there, because had he been around, Jim would have been wouldn't be here today to talk about it, because they were precise with their ammunition, with their rounds that they fired. The NBA was.
Yeah, the top of Argonne was kind of like a ridge, And that's what I flew, that aircraft. And and they for us to land on a 4,300-foot mountain, you don't just kind of take a 3 or 4 mile straightaway to land to it. You come 2,000 or 3,000 feet above it. So that puts you at 7,000 feet. And you better stop your descent at 4,000 feet or you're now part of the earth. And so we did this, what's called an auto rotation, where the helicopter disengages all of the engines from the rotor system and you become just a free fall. And good pilots understand when it's time to start arresting that free fall. And so we came in with just the crew of 7, or a crew of 2 and 3, 5 guys. And on the way down, we knew that there was a lot of fire in this zone. We'd been told, and we also had the ability to listen to the Marines on the ground with our, what we called our Fox mic or just ground radios. And I told our gunners on my command, as we started our auto rotation, I said, we've been told that the enemy are 25 to 30 yards off of either side of the helicopter. Therefore, anything that's moving, shoot it. And I said, rather than look for them, I want you to start firing on the way down 50 cal, and I don't want you to stop until I tell you on our way out when to stop. And I think, I think that is the reason we didn't get hit, even though there was a lot of incoming going on. The thing that almost killed us wouldn't have been small rounds. It was, I have to tell you, Tom, there were 3 mortars that landed right in front of my face there, and they were walking them toward the cockpit. And after the 3rd one landed, I said, we're out of here. And we left with the ramp down. They were still putting people in, and we had no power. We had taken now 10 or 11 wounded Marines now in the back of our helicopter, some of whom I think died en route to the hospital back to Vandegrift. And we limped out of that zone and literally dropped into the valley below because we had no power to hover, hardly at all. We couldn't lift off out of that zone. We were so heavy, except maybe a foot above the ground. And we inched our way over toward the precipice, and we started just diving. We had no control of the helicopter until to get into a hover, we had brought, the helicopter always operates at 100%. You can't change the rotor speed. The rotor speed stays what it is. But we were now down to 82%. And that took all of our generators and our hydraulically controlled surfaces. We couldn't control any of it. We were just on for the ride. And once that 82%, due to our airspeed, giving up altitude for airspeed, grew to back up to above 90 or so toward 100%, we then regained control of the helicopter and made a running landing, I guess, into Vandegrift. I can't recall, but.
And that was because it was overloaded with people, with bodies.
Wounded. Yeah. And we didn't know if anybody, when we got out of there, we had immediately alerted Dong Ha Dask, we called it there, the kind of the assignment editor, you might say, for all the helicopters. And we said, you got to get some F4s in here with napalm and bombs and whatnot, because I said, we're not going back in there again until this ground fire is under control. We went back in afternoon and did not experience what we had in the morning. But what we had in the morning, I went back that evening for reasons unknown to me, got under my electric blanket. Believe it or not, it gets cold in Vietnam in March. And I dictated for 30 minutes the events of that day. And that's what's my chapter in LZ Sitting Duck. It's a transcription of a cassette of my memory of what occurred the day of March 21st, 1969.
Oh my, boy, would I love to hear that. You know, we had a program a couple weeks ago where we played excerpts from a member of the 4th Infantry Division, a reel-to-reel that he sent home to his family. And boy, was that fascinating, listening to his voice and then having him comment on it. Thomas and Jim, if you'd ever want to do that, I think it would be a fascinating thing to do, to hear that firsthand, fresh account.
I have an MP3 of it if you want. If you just give me your email address, I'll get it off to you. By the way, let me show you a couple pictures.
Okay.
This is the Marine.
Ellie, we have this spotlighted, I hope.
Yes, we do.
Okay, good.
It's the Marine with the 50 cal on his helmet.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Tell that story.
Yeah. So this guy, see the 161 on the back of his helmet?
Yes.
Okay. He was a gunner with HMM 161, helicopter medium Marine, HMM 161, which flew out of Quang Tri. And he was on some mission, I don't know what. And we're down there in the operating room of the field hospital at Vandegrift. And this fellow comes down the steps into the bunker, which is an operating room. And I looked at his helmet. I went, what's this all about? And I've always been into photography. Okay. So, I mean, I always took pictures of stuff. Okay. And so I took his picture, and it's not this picture. Someone else took this picture. I don't know who this is, but, and after he got bandaged up, I have a picture of him, which I can give to you as well. And how he survived a 50 cal how the helicopter survived the 50 cal into it, and then hitting a gunner, and it just wounded his arm. Didn't hurt his head was fine.
Oh my gosh. It's like John Arsenault getting his cover shot off and his boot heel shot off. I mean, how much closer do you get than that?
Another picture I'll show you. This is an interest. This was not a very good flying day for me.
Oh, that doesn't look good.
That burned that I was in. I was the co-pilot of in Da Nang in 1969.
You said, yeah, John.
This is Thomas here. John was saying how, this was a very ferocious battle, and how another individual, Bill Black, who was on one of the earlier helicopters that came in, they took rounds to the hydraulics, to the closet there, as they call it, and they never really landed. They basically got about 10 to 16 feet above the ground, and they basically took off and headed 3,000 yards south is where they sat down with the 46 that they were on. Well, another individual, Wayne Markson, remembers patrolling he was an Alpha, and he remembers patrolling south and seeing the rotor wash in the grass where it banked it down. So what we did is how we had every individual contributed was able to verify, say, if John said this statement, another individual could verify. We always had first, second, third hand accounts of every single action that is described in the book. And what's unique is how Bill's, like what John was saying, Bill's helicopter was, shot, and then they landed at 3,000 yards south. Bill never got to the battle till about 2 in the afternoon. Of course, he missed a little bit of the fight, but they ended up getting there, later in the day. So from the aviation side, what we did is we had, John and I had individual counts from not only enlisted on the ground and officer, we also reached out to aviation members as well. So we got Dale Riley, who was a crew chief on a 46, and then Jim, who was pilot, co-pilot. So we kind of wanted to cover all aspects of everyone's recollection and accounts of just this ferocious fight that went on.
I'm sharing my screen because I want to let people know where they could get the book if they'd like to. Is Amazon the best place to get it, would you say, Thomas?
John, what would you say?
From you?
It's probably the easiest to get it on Amazon. You can go straight to the publisher's site also.
Okay.
And order it. But as we're sitting here right now, it's number 4 on new releases of the Vietnam War. And basically the first two are free. So we're the basically number two of ones being sold.
How great.
So
Hey, Todd, let me say to you one thing as well, to kind of finish my story. First, I want to recognize Rick Everington, because my chapter is just what is what I did that day, and it's a dictation and transcription. Rick is a very, very talented writer. His chapter is poetic. I know you're going to get embarrassed now, Rick, but when you read chapter 13, which is what his chapter is, this guy missed his calling, because he writes a compelling story that you won't soon forget. Second thing is this. Thomas somehow found out about a Marine Corps aviation website that was very popular and set up in the wake of the Vietnam War, and it's called papasmoke.com. And Papa Smoke has gazillion photographs of everything everywhere that anybody ever went that they kept, and it's in there. It's a wonderful account. But that site you're a member of, and you get a magazine, say twice or so a year. There was 2 sentences in it, and I read it, sometimes who died, who didn't die, who's gone to whatever. And it said, anybody, whatever, Thomas, what'd you say? Anybody know anything about LZ Argonne? I'm writing a book,
Yeah, it was something to the effect, because I did my legwork with John, on the land side, on the infantry side. So I got a hold of Mr. Katz there on the Pop Smoke site, and I said how I was looking for individuals that flew into LZ Argonne during a certain time frame. And that's pretty much like Jim said. It was just a real short little couple sentences. It was like searching for a needle in a haystack is what I was looking for, because I didn't know if I'd ever find anyone. And so Jim happened to find it and reached out to me. I was like, to my dismay, I was like, wow, someone actually did reply. And to top it off, he didn't live very far from me. So that's how Jim got involved in this. And then I got to Dale Riley as well. So, like I said earlier, Todd, how it mushroomed out by one guy that was extremely critical and crucial to this success was Mark Applemat, and which John went to basic training with as well. They were in the same basic training unit when they joined the Marines. So Mark was instrumental on you contact this individual, contact this guy, and then it mushroomed out. But John and I, our goal is to hopefully, now that this little piece of the the Vietnam War is out there, that we hopefully can get more individuals that were there to hopefully come forward and just tell us, and because we want to reach out, get these guys in touch with one another, because Vietnam veterans are dying off at a faster rate than World War II veterans are. So we want to keep this history alive, and how it's great just to hear these these guys make contact with one another they probably haven't seen in over 50 years. Because later this year, I live in the Houston area. We have what's called the Wings Over Houston Air Show in October. So John and I will be there. I think Jim said he's going to come as well, but we're also going to have Carl Melanthus come as well. So we'll be selling our book, and Carl will be selling his book. So you'll have the true and the fictional story of Argonne.
Isn't that great? Yeah, to do essentially a reunion of this FSB Argonne. It would also be fun to do it virtually too, to get people who are part of that battle. You mentioned Jim, Rick's eloquence as a poet. I've learned recently that Marines are pretty poetic. Usually it's poetic with their obscenity combinations. But sometimes as poets, as writers, Ren Bergman, you are a Marine, you are a poet, and you posted one in the chat. You care to read it for us, called Honor?
Sure. For Honor, I just sent it to your daughter as well. Let me get to here. Okay,
You know what? I will.
I got it.
I'll get it on the screen too, so people could follow along. Hold on a second. Let me do a little copying. Were you this poetic when you were in the Marine Corps, Ren?
No, it took until after I got married.
Yeah, good. The Marines don't really teach poetry in basic training.
No, well, a different kind.
Right. All right, here I'm going to share my screen so people could read along. It's called Honor, and it's by Rendell Bergman.
Honor. What honor does war hold to bearers of bloody weapons? What honor comes home when mothers are in their grief? What honor are the tears upon mud-caked faces as they cascade down to fall on stricken comrades? What honor are the pools of darkened blood under fallen warriors who sacrificed their lives? What honor is victory from gory battlefields? The soldiers lie still with open, unseeing eyes. Where is the lasting honor that crowned men at arms, that wraps its mantle, a gleaming mantle around the living and the dead? What honor shines everlasting to those who serve our nation, patriots willing to fight when called, in desert skies, fields and seas, stalwart soldiers, sailors and Marines, protecting freedoms of our nation, valiant, brave men and women whose service is untarnished, honor formed in their hearts, beating God, duty, country. Honor is on the battlefield in every tear and drop of blood.
Thank you, Ren. And I like what you do with that word, honor. It was a big word in the Vietnam War. Peace with honor, you'll remember, was the goal of the Nixon administration in ending the Vietnam War. And that poem kind of plays with the meaning of it. What is honor? There's the word that we kind of toss around maybe too casually. And then there's the real honor, the real character trait that you see displayed before you when you're in a situation like you were in at Fire Support Base Argonne. Rick, you're wearing a peace shirt?
Yes, I am, and I'm drinking out of my I don't know if you can see it, my Marine Corps cup.
Love it, love it. Do you find a dissonance there? You know, is there a tension there between what's displayed on your shirt and what's displayed on your mug?
Well, yes, I'm always going to be a Marine till the day I die. But on the other hand, I have grown fond of peace. So, there's a big spread there. So you can't really have peace unless you're able to keep it. So you're going to have the Marine Corps always. But I pray for peace. I'm into like I'm not a person that wants anybody to have to die in a war, because I know how useless it is and how much it really hurts all the people down line from your death. Whatever soldier or Marine dies, downstream, it's the mothers and the wives and the children. Those are the people that we should honor. Those people, the people who've lost someone that they'll never get back. And the rest of us don't know who that person is, but the people downline. And like Thomas has stepped up, and the only reason I wanted to be associated with this project is because he remembered somebody, from downline through his mother, and so I thought that was a beautiful thing to be part of.
This is a beautiful thing.
And Todd, I wanted to mention how you got John's part of the ring, the 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, I guess you could say a Ring of Honor, because it seems like 1-4 is kind of known as the authors division, because you have, John, you've got Jack McLean, and you got Carl Melanthus, all 1-4. So I'm kind of the outsider, but those three guys are pretty much known as the authors of this whole 1st Battalion, 4th Marines. And I think Rick can even vouch for this too, and John as well. It seems like 1-4 or 1-9 are the most units written about in the Vietnam War. So John's got that unique distinction to be part of that club.
Let me ask if I want to invite people, if they have comments or questions here on the Zoom side, or if you're watching on Facebook, put the comments in the comment section on Facebook. Please do chime in. I don't want the program to end, however, without John talking about a little bit more about the rest of his Marine Corps career, because I just think it's the neatest story, that little bit that I read, like I said before, John, on LinkedIn, that you joined the Marine Corps, worked your way up to, I guess, Lance Corporal, got out in 1970, I believe.
Correct. I got out, was honorably discharged in 1970, and attempted to go to college, and that didn't pan out at all. Went a semester and then hitchhiked all over America, and then came back and decided I wanted to go camping just to get away for a while. So went camping, decided to go camping in Alaska for 3 weeks. So I went to Alaska and ended up staying there for 30 years. And
sounds like a novel right there.
Right. Yeah. So I went up there, and it was to me, it was what saved me, because I was having some kind of difficult times dealing with everything, or just my biggest thing was that I carried with me was the fact that I survived. And so I went up in the oil field, and they put me way out on the ice, way far out, which was great. That's what I needed, just peace in distance. And so worked up there. And the Marine Corps decided to start a new reserve unit in Alaska, a recon unit, in the mid 80s, in 85. And they had nobody, excuse me, they had no one to man it. So myself and 2 other Vietnam vets got age waivered to come back in and help start up this Marine Reserve unit. And what motivated me was to try and pass on things that I learned in Vietnam to hopefully save some new young Marines if we ever went to war. So I was kind of trying to carry on, I guess, the honor that we've talked about of to these young, the honor I got because I lived, from all those that fought and paid with their lives on Argonne, to come back and try and teach some new young Marines. So my waiver was accepted. Now figure this one out. I came back in as a 36-year-old corporal. Now, I mean, there was 20-year-old kids that were like outranked me by a lot. Yes. And so, I had no plan to stay in or any, career path or anything. I just wanted to be there to help pass on some of this stuff of basically how to shoot your way out of a gunfight, that sort of stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And I went through from that point on, I became known as the oldest Marine in the history of, and then fill in the blank. Because when I was a recon unit, so I was on a force recon path. So I went through the entire force recon training requirements, went to the amphib reconnaissance course down in Coronado, across the street from the Navy SEALs, BUDS. And so the Marine Corps version of BUDS. And so, when we graduated, the commanding officer, he goes, and John Arsenault, the oldest Marine in the history of this school, going back to World War II, to make it through this thing, So, but anyway, I just stayed with it. I enjoyed it. And in 1990, I was put in for a field commission, and the Commandant Al Gray signed off on it personally. And so I went from a staff sergeant to second lieutenant and took command of the recon company. And it's one of those things, if you like what you're doing, for some reason, things, I don't know, you just work harder. That's all I can say is. And so anyway, just one thing led to another. And I ended up after 9/11, got activated and went to Iraq and Afghanistan. And, I did spend 7 years at the Pentagon, apparently to pay for my sins. So, but no, it was a career in the Marine Corps that I could have never, ever have imagined, planned, or thought possible. And so I feel very fortunate, and I thank the guys I served with, back there in the Marine Corps, back in Argonne. And just real quick note here, I agree with Jim on Rick's chapter. To me, that's the best chapter in the book, without any question.
Yep.
Well, I really thank you for that. And but the story was something I held for the longest time about those specific guys that I knew, because when I got back out to Argonne, they were gone and the platoon was completely changed. And I never got to say thank you for what they did for me. So this was my chance to do that. And it was like, yeah, I got to do it. So that's what that is. Thank you.
Hey, Todd, if I could just interject on John's thought about where his brain was on the other side of Vietnam. I think the Marines who are here who went to Vietnam will agree with me that when we lifted off and got out of Vietnam alive, all of us felt as though we now had a new life that we did not deserve to have lived, but somehow did. And what shall I say? We're going to dedicate the rest of our life to really enjoying it and living it. And to those who were really mentally put back, the PTSDs, et cetera, that we really feel for them. But I mean, I remember making anniversaries and gifts to myself with a new car or motorcycle or anything that I said, I'm going to buy this thing. I lived through this thing. Would you agree with me, Rick? You're shaking your head.
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
I agree also, Jim. Absolutely.
And Todd, I want to mention that I was looking through our chat there, and we actually have what I believe is a couple more individuals who have contributed data. I see Mark Applemap is on the call, and I want to say if it's Andy, is that Andy O'Sullivan, who actually I have a picture of Andy and David on my stand next to my shadow box, because it's the last known picture of David alive, and that's Andy in the picture. So that's a very powerful image that I have. But I just want to, give a shout out to, Mark Applemap, who I see is on the call, who was instrumental in this process of John and I completing this book. If it wasn't for him, John and I's paths may have never crossed. We've never been able to put out this book that hopefully helps others, to, just get their story out. And how the main satisfaction that I got out of this project was how I hope it's helped others, and I hope it's helped these other 20 individuals tell their story that they've had bottled up for so many years, because it has to be told.
I think Mark is on the call, and he could feel free to chime in anytime he wants. I could see that the Andy is not your Andy, Thomas, but my Andy Niggett, who's a Marine, Vietnam Marine. I could tell he's hanging on every word here, because he was wounded grievously on October 9th, 1968, and evacuated and survived. I think, Jim, that Andy Niggett here would be able to relate to everything you said about the sense of getting a second chance at life. I've long said that the reason why I love working with veterans is they're the most grateful people I've ever met. You know, they're grateful for every day. They're grateful for the people who came before them. You know, they're grateful for every breath they're able to take because they know others can't do that. And that's something I think about around Memorial Day. Gosh, what a wonderful and inspiring conversation. Boy, was this a fast program. I know Ron Gianta is with us. He often has something from the VA to announce. How are you doing today, Ron?
I'm doing fine, Todd. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a couple of things real fast. You know, we see the CDC is lifting these mask requirements, okay? And what a lot of folks don't realize is the VA has out there that masks are still required when you go to a VA medical facility, you know, and they're still out there doing COVID-19 shots. Erie's doing COVID-19 shots every Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to 4. Pittsburgh, they're doing COVID-19 shots for veterans, spouses, caregivers from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Oakland. And the Butler is taking walk-ins similarly, you know, at their Duff Road address. But in keeping with the Vietnam veterans, a little known thing, I just got a press release that veterans who were previously denied connection for a herbicide-related presumptive condition due to lack in-country service will have their claims automatically readjudicated by the VA. The department began readjudicating claims in April for veterans who served the offshore waters of the Republic of Vietnam during the Vietnam War that were previously denied for one or more herbicide-related conditions on the basis that the military service was not performed on the land of the Republic of Vietnam. And this is a quote from the Acting VA Undersecretary for Benefits, Mr. Thomas Murphy. Readjudication means the VA will review the evidence of record and provide replacement decisions in the cases of veterans who were previously denied service connection benefits. So this is all good news for our Vietnam veterans who were either denied Agent Orange exposure, who have some of the presumptive illnesses, the Blue Water Navy, and excuse me, and the VA is like taking this whole Agent Orange exposure thing extremely seriously. So that's good for all of our Vietnam veterans.
Thank you, Ron, very much. Joe Dornbrock, I see you're on the call. You're with Keystone Paralyzed Vets. Anything new to report on your end?
Can't say anything right now. No, we're just steady state here, hoping almost daily monitoring what we're going to be opening up this year. But actually, most of it's all membership related events, nothing public yet.
Okay. You know, Jim and John and Rick, I'd love to be able to stay in touch with you. If you want to send me an email, todd@veteransbreakfastclub.org. I'd love to invite you on future shows, especially we often do Marine special shows. We'll even invite Thomas to join us even for these Marine shows. Love to have you continue this conversation because I just think it's endlessly fascinating to people like me, you know, and a lot of others. I also want to let people know we have a big week coming up next week, a big week of programming. We have on Monday night, we're going to mark the 100th anniversary of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers with those who guarded the tomb, what that job is like, what it entails. We'll do some history of the tomb. On Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll have Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart, one of the few remaining Tuskegee Airmen, 96 years old, 43 kills or 43 missions, I should say, in World War II, and 3 kills in one day. He'll be telling his story. And then Wednesday morning, 1 week from this morning, we're going to have the VA Secretary on, Secretary Dennis McDonough, and he'll be taking your questions and answering your questions. He'll be hearing your questions. We'll see if he answers them. And we're also going to have Congressman Connor Lamb on with him to talk about what's going on at the VA. So That'll be a big morning for us to get the cabinet secretary on the VBC morning show. I'm pretty excited about that. Do we have Larry Googans? Did you have anything to announce with VVA?
Yeah, there is a couple of things, Todd. You caught me off guard. Our chapter will have our banquet tonight. So if anybody is a member of VVA Chapter 862, come to the meeting tonight where we award scholarships to some veterans. And in June, I'll get it back to you. In June, I think it's the 19th, we have a Support of Troops rally in Beaver.
Excellent.
Annual. And so ask everybody to come and attend, but look on the websites and you can see it. Thanks, Todd. This was very interesting. If I might mention, I know you got to go. I was on the other side of Laos. And I was trying to look while you were doing that to find out the pass that goes into where we just discussed. But we lost a lot of airplanes in those passes that go into South and the southern part of North Vietnam, trying to bomb those passes day after day after day after day, just like everybody on the ground did, and were unsuccessful because they just plowed it over that night before. So this was very interesting. Thank you, Todd, for bringing this on. I was up in the air. I didn't see what everybody on the Marines and everyone did on the ground. I entirely support you. I will say, if I could, Todd, that's the reason I do what I do with Vietnam veterans, just like everybody mentioned.
Yep.
I'm thankful that I made it through. My roommate got shot down, was a POW. I did not. I made it back, and I'm thankful every day. And just like everybody do, Todd, I just gotta, again, what you do for veterans is more, I hate to say, almost more than the VA. And I'd be interested in the Agent Orange in many of us would in Thailand on another day. We'll talk to you. But Todd, thank you very much for everything you do for veterans. Thank you.
Larry, yeah, I want to talk about, so Thailand is not covered with Agent Orange?
It is in some areas.
Okay.
And I'll let the VA comment on that. They're still trying to decide if dioxins were used around the bases in Thailand.
Okay, a comment on that is, and I don't know the 100% details, Larry, but I believe it has something to do with the areas around the flight line or runways were sprayed with Agent Orange, okay? And you had to be working in the areas that were sprayed to be able to file a claim, okay? Or you were part of a career field that was exposed to those areas. But also, let's not also forget the DMZ in Korea, where that was also sprayed. But on the internet, if you Google Agent Orange exposure, it'll bring up all of the areas that are presently under consideration that are used when veterans are trying to file claims for Agent Orange.
Yeah, I've looked at all of those, and I know the rules. Yeah, it doesn't affect me because I was not around the runways. I was on the runways. Anyway, and so were the maintenance folks, but that's a different story. That's a whole other issue. They're still working on it. The VA's working on it.
Can I ask a VA question then about Agent Orange? By exposure to Agent Orange, if you do not exhibit the listed maladies as a result of being exposed to Agent Orange, what is your claim with the VA? What will the VA compensate for being exposed to Agent Orange, but I don't have diabetes and I don't have cancers that are on their list?
Okay, you have to be diagnosed with one of the presumptive illnesses related to the toxin exposure to be able to file a claim for the VA. Just like also the Marines with Camp Lejeune. If you exhibit one of the presumptive illnesses that are related to the contaminated water from Camp Lejeune, you can file a claim. I've had veterans come in and say, I want to file a claim for Camp Lejeune, but there's nothing wrong with them right now, but they just want to be on record. And one of the other things is, I believe there's an Agent Orange registry where veterans can go in and they can register their names for being exposed to Agent Orange. But to file a claim with the VA, you have to be diagnosed with one of the presumptive illnesses.
Ron, may I ask, if you sign up for that registry, and I've heard of the Agent Orange registry, if you sign up for it, somebody like Jim, they know they were exposed, but he's not ill. Does that help if you sign up for the registry? Then later, let's say, Jim gets diagnosed with diabetes or something a year from now, will having been on that registry help with your filing a claim?
Yes, I would say so. Anytime you can get your name on any kind of a list that you were exposed or you were somewhere where there was an exposure of any type of contaminant, in the case of the Agent Orange, the water Camp Lejeune, that's critically important because now you're going on record saying, I was there.
Okay, very good. Jim, does that help?
That would be maybe similar to an intent to file
Okay.
letter.
Okay.
Similar, possibly, yeah.
Todd, thank you very much. Yes, that
Yep.
does. I'm going to confirm your email is todd@veterans, that's plural, breakfastclub.org.
Correct.
Okay.
That's it.
I'll send you a link to the MP3 of my account of March 21.
Thank you very much, Jim. And thank you, John. And thank you, Thomas. And thank you, Mark and Rick. Thank you all for joining us this morning. What a fascinating morning it is. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while, and it's really great to meet all of you. I do hope you see us again. You could always go find our schedule at veteransbreakfastclub.org. You can sign up for our emails. We send out 2 email bulletins a week. And I hope you'll join us next week for one of our programs about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier with the Tuskegee Airmen or with Secretary of the VA McDonough. All right. Thank you all.